just in case.
Hold on. We got sound. There we go.
Yay! Hip, hip, hooray! So thanks for listening, and that's the end of our show.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one. Until next time.
So I know you didn't hear any of this, so I'm going to go back and thank you again for tuning in, and as always being patient with us as we jump over our little technical hurdles, and tonight we're blaming it on our guest Panache. It's all his fault, but thank you to PTVN and Brandon Kreitzer for hosting us here. Before you leave, take a moment to just scroll up on your page and hit the like button. He appreciates it. And once you leave, hop on over to throughtheveil.org site. Check out the site there. You're going to find all kinds of information about this weekend's event with our guest tonight, Panache, and he's going to be here in Atlanta doing an Illumination and Lightness of Being event December 9th through 11th. You can go through there to get all your ticket information and come see him. Also find us on Facebook and like us there. And that was a quick thank you because I'm really pumped about tonight's show, so I want to jump right into it and introduce who you're seeing in the middle of your screen, the incredible and wonderful Mr. Panache Desai. I have been so excited and hyper all day, and I always look forward to our show. This isn't a lot different except for today I was just thinking I can't wait for people to meet him. I can't wait, and it was like I had maybe baked something and I couldn't wait for everybody to share it, although you might not like my baking. But a little bit of background about about a year ago, a friend of mine sent me a message over on Facebook and said, you have got to check this guy out. And I went and watched some videos and went to Panache's site, and right away I was completely hooked. I thought I got to get this guy at Through the Veil, and we were so blessed to have him there. And you know, you can meet people, and there's only been maybe one or two other people in my life who I met, and in the moment that you meet them, something tells you that you're meeting somebody very important, not just for your life, but for the world, for the population as a whole. And that's immediately what I felt when I met Panache, and nothing that anybody has ever said has resonated with me the way Panache's words do. And so I can't wait for you guys to listen to him tonight and get to know him. My experience has been just a complete vibrational transformation, and it sounds like I might be exaggerating or blowing sunshine up our guest's butt, but I'm not. I'm really not. So I'm going to do just a quick little bio background. And
my butt gets enough sunshine already, thanks.
Yeah, Panache is in Florida, but I'm biting my lip because I was going to say something more and I won't. So
I'm glad you didn't.
I get to talk about Panache
a lot. Up my butt. You know,
oh, by the way,
it's already dark, so you know, my butt could probably do with some more sunshine. Just saying.
And by the way, I'm so excited that I neglected to say hello and introduce my awesome co-host, Greg Munson, who's here with me every week. Little humor relief, and so we're glad to have him. Hi, Greg.
Hey, everybody.
We're going to have a good time tonight, and just all this laughing. Just know that even when something is serious and deep and profound, that it can come to you in the form of hilarious laughter, that does not take away from what you're hearing. So just saying that as we're all cracking up. So Panache was born and raised in London, England, and when I tell people about him that don't really know who he is yet, I jokingly say, and I don't even know if you know this, Panache, so certainly it's no offense, I find it kind of funny. I always say that he's like a modern-day, better-looking Deepak Chopra. And people get it. They're like, oh, they just kind of understand what he is there. So he spent,
That's awesome.
It is, and it makes sense. And people who I've said that to and then meet you, they always say, you're right, he's exactly what you said. So anyway, Panache spent his whole childhood immersed in an atmosphere of prayer and worship, surrounded by his deeply spiritual family. And even as a child, Panache knew that he was a little bit different than the other guys his age. And at the age of 23, he received his gift. What that gift was an immense energy that came into his body through the crown of his head, and he was filled with an intense feeling of love that he had never known before. This energy pulsed through every cell of his body. Panache lived in this transformational state of bliss and wonderment for 3 months. Can you imagine? 3 months just blissing about.
Wow.
So that's what he's doing. He's walking around 3 months in bliss, and then suddenly it just seemed to sort of dissipate. And he instinctively knew that what that dissipation was an integration of everything that had been kind of, for you techie people, downloaded to him. And that it was time for him to come to share what he had with the world. And so tonight we're going to get to know what it is that he is sharing. So, Panache, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here tonight.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a great show. I'm excited.
It is going to be a great show. I can't even, I'm like jerking in my chair, shifting around. I'm so pumped.
Oh my God.
Okay, so if I called you modern day better looking Deepak Chopra, if somebody were to walk up to you and say, what is it that you do? How would you describe it?
Mm-hmm. Two really simple ways of drawing the distinction. So there's people that can talk to you about information and wisdom, or can take sacred information and rewrite it in a modern context. And Deepak Chopra would be one of those people. Wayne Dyer is another one. They have an amazing ability to take really ancient scriptural wisdom and knowledge and convey it in a modern context in a way that you and I can hear. So on that level, you're receiving wisdom on the level of your mind. So there's a certain level of awareness or a certain mental recognition that's unfolding. There's another level of being that doesn't have to say a word, and they are what's lovingly called vibrational catalysts. So they embody the frequency of the divine or that unmanifest potential. And through their being it, you come into that resonance just by sitting there without them saying a word. So the words act as signposts, but ultimately there's a vibrational communion that's going on underneath. And so, somebody once asked me, everything that Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and all these people did, what you're saying, have we been ripped off? And I said, no, we haven't been ripped off, because we needed that information for the mind. It's like your ego needed to be comfortable with how magnificent you really are. And now it's showtime. And ultimately, every single person has an infinite potential that resides within them. And it's been my role to lovingly remind them of that. And so it's a very cute way of introducing me, Michelle, to somebody who's not familiar with anything, really. It kind of is. Although I would have to say that Deepak Chopra is definitely better looking, but I'm flattered.
Yeah, I agree. You're better looking than he is.
Yeah,
so
no contest.
So ultimately, so really, I mean, the conversation is right now that it's kind of like a show me, it's a tangible feeling, sensory experience that people are wanting right now. They've read the books, been to seminars, they've done the workshops, they've listened to Oprah, they've done everything that they're supposed to do, and their lives still haven't really shifted. And that's because on a vibrational level, they haven't shifted. Ultimately, what we're realizing now more and more is that, and I love and call it vibrational density. So any and all emotional trauma or psychological trauma that you experience during the course of your life, if you don't process that properly, it gets stuck. And just like in your house, you've got plumbing, and if you don't take the time to maintain the plumbing and to make sure the water's running efficiently, you're going to end up with a problem. And it's the same thing with vibration and frequency. We're vibrational beings. The more we come into the realization that we're vibrational beings, and the more we access that greater potential, the more life flows with grace and ease. And so it's been extraordinary, really, because it's more than words. It's a conveying on a vibrational level of the truth of who we are. Without any dogma, without any belief system, without any... None of that. No trips. This is who you are. This is the reality of you. Now go on and live it.
And it's so true, listening to things that I've heard over the years, and in particular things that you have said. certain statements will cause a physical reaction, at least to me. And over the years, I've come to know that that is when I'm hearing the truth. Even if it's something I don't recall ever hearing before, and I thought that it's probably my soul remembering, or that part of me that has forgotten the truth kind of wakes up and says, "Oh, hey, I recognize that. That's right." And so whenever I get the chills, I always know that's it. That's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the truth is a vibrational resonance with what's being shared. It's not really the words. Because somebody can share the truth with you, you may not want to hear it, and it may fundamentally completely go against your belief system and how you've been conditioned. But every cell in your body knows that what you're listening to is the truth. You know, and that's the blessing of my role, really, is I've been able to talk to people of all religious backgrounds and ideologies from all over the world. You know, from people who have everything to people who are wanting to, create their life. I mean, there's no division in the audience, everybody's shown up at some point in time. And they can all hear it. Why? Because it's the truth. Because ultimately we've been projecting our light, love, and power on any willing taker. Basically, we're all a bunch of billionaires begging for change. It's like, fix me, heal me, make me a better version of me. And all the while you're missing the point that you, as you are brilliant. Have you actually tried embracing yourself? Have you actually tried lovingly embracing who you were designed to be? Because the very second you stop having a problem with you, a world of infinite possibilities becomes available to you. Because you're no longer giving yourself a hard time. And all these things in spirituality and personhood, all these things were really simple. They weren't complicated. They just got stretched out, and volumes were written on them, and people are just more confused than ever before. Because everyone has a different opinion or a different way of articulating the truth. Ultimately, on a vibrational level, the truth is the same. It's eternal truth. That we all have this amazing infinite potential, and that's really what it is. And you can call it divine potential. You can call it, the greater human potential. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's there, and it's time to uncover it. And that's really been the blessing of what's been happening.
So what you're saying is, once we put ourselves down for the simple things of, hey, I need to lose 20 pounds, I look disgusting this way, to, I don't know, that I have, something on my face that just won't go away, I got a scar or something like that. Once we accept who we are and, once we love each other, we'll be more open to basically, be one with the universe?
Yeah, because, ultimately, when you look at it, right, nobody in life gives you a harder time than you.
It's true.
Most people aren't self-aware enough to admit it. But what happens is, when you stop giving yourself a hard time, and you come into the loving acceptance of you, it's no longer a limitation. So one definition of suffering is resisting what is. So we have a whole culture of people that are consciously or unconsciously resisting what is, because they're resisting themselves. So for example, when they get angry, they think they shouldn't be angry. Or if they have that scar, they think they shouldn't have that scar because they don't meet society's expectations of what it is to be beautiful, So we're continually looking outside of ourselves for validation. Instead of just accepting where we're at. You can only start from where you're at. That's the foundation of it all. And the funny thing is that when you get to a place of neutrality with where you're at, then something else becomes possible. Until then, it's just that, spiritual 2x4 that you beat yourself with every day, I shouldn't be angry anymore, whack, self-flagellation. I shouldn't be, I shouldn't be sad anymore, I shouldn't be judging anymore. Well, ultimately, you're going to judge, you're human. You're going to engage in every part of being human, getting angry, all of it, That's why we're here. The key is to no longer have a problem with it. Just to be at peace with it as it's happening, And then you go through it faster, you don't hold on to things, and you're clear. Life just gets better.
Because I got to tell you, when I'm driving down the road in the highway, especially in Georgia, I may be in a perfect mood driving down the highway, then some guy comes up and starts riding my butt, my car, and that great mood just turns into, oh God, why did this guy just move around? Just, why doesn't he understand? Why doesn't everybody else, do what this guy, I don't understand.
That's perfect, because your average human being lives in an adversarial relationship with their reality. And what I mean by that is that they're a victim of their own life. So basically everyone's doing something to them. That means that someone else has the ability to determine your mood. Oh, who gave them that power? You did.
You got a point.
You did.
I didn't think about it that way.
That guy riding your ass, the very second you said you got, irritated about it, you got upset about it, all of a sudden you've empowered him to determine your mood.
Yeah.
You see? If he's riding your ass and you're just there and you're like, dude, you can ride my ass all you want, I'm not going anywhere, there's 4 lanes of traffic, where are you going? And you're just smiling and you're just content at the fact that he's riding your ass, and you're okay, and you're listening to the radio and whatever's going on, on Atlanta radio these days, and you're just chilling out. It doesn't bother you. It's like, you can ride my ass all day long. It doesn't matter. You can ride my ass all the way home. I'm just going to sit here, and I'm just going to be here, and I'm just going to let you do whatever it is that you want to do. Have a good time. You see? So that's the thing. That's the perfect example, and that's how I say to spiritual people too. It's like, you meditate, you're peaceful for your 15 minutes, and then you get in your car, and then bang goes your peace and tranquility,
Yep.
And that's what people don't understand, that this is a lifestyle. It's not just sitting in a dark room with a stick of incense with a picture of whoever you consider to be enlightened. It's a lifestyle. And in any given moment, we're being given an opportunity to come into greater levels of loving acceptance. Okay? That's the perfect example. The next time that happens, there's nothing to defend. Nothing to defend. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I'm definitely going to start thinking that way.
And also, Greg, you know what? If you get angry, that's okay too. Just don't have a problem with being angry. And even if you get you see? And this is hard. This is hard.
Yeah. Because, and Luana will be the first one to tell you that, when I get angry, I can go from a totally to a in seconds.
Yeah.
So it does. I would, at the very least, I would say it flusters me when it happens. But and so in saying that, I kind of have a hard time if when you say if you're going to get angry, because when I get angry, the world stops spinning.
So anger and emotions, when I experience emotions, they're just different resonances of frequency. Okay, so for example, sadness is just a different frequency than anger or fear or love, right? Ultimately, it's all vibration, it's all resonance. It's our mind that creates the interpretation of what it is. Okay, and it's also our mind that places the judgment on the experience. Okay, so for example, anger is a great emotion. Okay, there are people right now being paid millions of dollars for being professionally pissed off. Just ask any gangster rapper or any lead singer of a heavy metal band. They are professionally pissed off and they are compensated millions of dollars. Okay? So anger is a great emotion. Anger is a great emotion. Now here's the key to it. The key to it is, and we're going to use the car analogy. Okay? So the car analogy is, if your car's in neutral and you have a stick shift, no matter how much your foot is on the gas, are you going anywhere?
No.
No. Okay?
Right.
And that's the secret. The secret is, when you get angry, just feel what there is to feel inside of you. And let it begin and end there. What you're going to do is you're going to discover a whole new relationship with anger. Anger is actually exhilarating energy. It's like electric. It's amazingly powerful energy. Okay? When it gets triggered, when something happens in your reality that triggers it, just take a breath. Just put it in neutral and feel the charge. Feel the emotion. Feel it arising in your body. Feel the sensations. Right? And the more you can just stick it in neutral and just feel it, you feel it, it washes through you, and then it's over. The reason why people in our society have such a hard time expressing their anger is because it's a socially unacceptable emotion.
Yeah.
People don't want to see angry people because angry people are very hard to control. The other thing is that society doesn't want to see you being sad because nobody wants to look in the mirror and see their own sadness. So anger and sadness are not the problem. It's our judgment as a culture and society of these emotions that's the issue. You see? So be angry.
Yeah,
it's great. Feel it. It's amazing. You know? It's an amazing sensation. It's literally like touch paper, and it's like energy just shooting through your body. It's like, whoa! You know? And then you just feel it, and you experience it, and then it's over. Same thing with sadness. You know? The more you can be with these energies, the more you can feel them. You see, the less then, when you get lit, you won't stay lit for long. Why? Because you've experienced it. You've experienced it. You know? It's funny because the ancient yogis and mystics would say that rage, when fully experienced, becomes blissful. And when you think about that, it's like, huh? Like, what the hell are you talking about, you know? Right? Right. You see, but they were no longer drawing the distinction between their emotions and their experience. They were just fully in the experiencing of it. They were just fully in the experiencing of it within themselves. Okay? That it's not about someone else. Really, that person is a messenger for you to feel what you have to feel inside of you. That's it. You know? It's really what it is. You know?
Huh.
So by all means, get your anger on, man. It's awesome. Just feel it. Go into neutral. Just experience it, you know. And the more you can be at peace with it, the less it's going to bother you, and the less it impacts anyone around you. It doesn't. At that point, it doesn't even. You know, I have friends of mine. They argue, and their argument, you know, like what? And you're like, what's going on? You know, and they're just looking at you. I'm currently experiencing my rage, and that's the end of the argument. You know, not it's your fault. You suck. You're a blah 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 blah. No. It's just 100% accountable and responsible.
So what you're saying is, every once in a while, you do have to embrace the dark side of the force.
Yeah, and there's no dark side. They tell you the dark side stuff to keep you disempowered. You see, they tell you the dark side to keep you disempowered. You're afraid of it. You'll never go there. You'll never feel it. You'll never be a whole and complete expression. But it's only when you've embraced the quote-unquote shadow that you can fully know the realms and depths of the light, you know? Like I always say to people, if you really want to love someone, then you have to be able to access the depths of your rage. Otherwise, you can't love somebody. You know, then otherwise your love is conditional, you know?
Right.
It's like if you can't be with your own rage, then you can't be with somebody else's rage. You see?
I see what you're saying,
Yeah. And a rainbow, and that's why I always use the analogy of a rainbow, right? A rainbow is lots of different colors, and it's lots of different spectrums of light, and that's what makes it beautiful. Well, our emotions are the same. Lots of different spectrums of light, color, and frequency. That's all. And so, but, you know, red and orange and yellow and green and blue and all those colors together are what make a rainbow beautiful. In the absence of your anger, you wouldn't be the magnificent being that you are.
Huh.
You see? So it's lovingly embracing all of you. It's going beyond what society deems as acceptable. Because what society deems as acceptable is completely unacceptable. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's too confining. It doesn't allow you to fully express who you are. You know, I just did an event at Kripalu, actually. It's a major yoga facility in Boston, Massachusetts. And on the wall, there's a quote from Gandhi. And he says, I want the freedom to express every single aspect of my personality. Every single aspect. I want the freedom
if I
to
did
be
that,
angry.
I'd probably get embarrassed.
Embarrassed because ultimately embarrassed is how I'm acting right now doesn't conform to what my external world is calling acceptable. But the part that you're missing is the external world is drowning. It's drowning in its acceptability. You know, in spirituality, God forbid someone gets angry, it's awful, you know. It's like, you know, they have to baptize themselves and spin around in a circle 3 times and smudge themselves, you know, and never wear black underwear again, or, you know, never walk on the side of the street that they were walking on because a cat, an evil entity jumped out of the cat and jumped into their body, you know? It's this whole thing, right? Why can't we just be angry? Why can't we just be angry? What's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it, you know. So be who you are. There's nothing wrong with you. And actually, I'll go one step further and say you couldn't be any different, period.
You know,
You couldn't
Panache,
be any different.
if somebody, and I know a lot of people, in particular women, if you said that to them, there's nothing wrong with you. In their head, they're saying, but you don't know who I really am, the things that I've done, the things that I have thought and felt, and all of that, just kind of shame and guilt. What do you say to them to get them to move outside of that? Because that is just such a heavy burden on so many people.
Yeah. First of all, we're really heavily brainwashed. That's the first thing. The media is continually brainwashing us as to how we should look, what we need to buy, how we should show up, how we need to live, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. And the female population of this planet gets the main bulk of that brainwashing. Okay? And here's why. Because it's $1 billion industry. That's why. Okay? There's $1 billion industry wrapped up in you looking a certain way, wearing the right colors, wearing the right makeup, wearing the right perfume, buying the right watch. I mean, this is a business. And the business is to exploit your insecurities and that which you perceive to be not good enough and unlovable. I said it. That's it right there. Okay? Now, ultimately, that judgment only exists on the level of humanity. It doesn't exist on the level of vibration, frequency, or the divine. Okay? Ultimately, you as you are right now, the way you are, no matter how you look, no matter what you've got, you're completely loved and accepted by that being that created you. Period. End of story. And the more you can come into that space of loving acceptance of yourself, the less you need to play the games anymore to get that small shred of approval or attention or acceptance or love from somebody or something outside of you. Because you know what? It's never going to come from outside of you. Because we live on a planet where people fundamentally don't love and accept themselves. So how can they love and accept you? They can't, can they? They're not in harmony with themselves. So it's time to step off the hamster wheel of becoming. You can spend your whole life becoming prettier, becoming slimmer, trying to conform to what, the expectation is of how you're supposed to be. And right now, in this moment, you can just finally, once and for all, look in the mirror and say, you know what? I am who I am. I am who I am. And I'm not a mistake. I'm not broken. I don't need healing. I don't need fixing. I don't need to wear the full colors to be approved of and to be attractive. I can just be who I am and marvel in the glory and magnificence of who I am. And that also extends to how you've lived your life and what you've done. People forget this, but Jesus' disciples were a really scandalous group of individuals. People forget that. Moneylenders, murderers, rapists, criminals. I mean, it's like, who's who
right.
of criminal activity. Yeah, that's like Paul was actually called Saul, right? Do you remember that story,
right.
Craig?
Somewhat,
and
yeah.
Saul was not so nice, So ultimately, we have these ideas and expectations of who we're supposed to be and how we live in our divinity. And it's not true. We're human. And that is our greatest blessing, okay? It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how you've lived your life. Basically, the divine loves you. I mentioned Jesus because I love Jesus. He embraced everybody. He loved everybody. There was no questionnaire or no, I'm sorry you haven't lived your life the right way, you don't conform to society's ideals, so I can't lovingly embrace you. There was none of that. There was just complete love and acceptance. And that's the divine. The divine is complete love and acceptance. Doesn't matter. So the more we can accept who we are, the more we can accept how we've lived our lives, and the more we can accept the imperfection, okay, as being perfect, the more we begin to live with this bliss and marvel at life. It's fabulous, it's magnificent. Life is awesome.
And,
it really is.
You said something Through the Veil that really kind of freed me. And we're talking about, belief in external and trying to be something that we're not. And I was on this real search, like a lot of people are, this spiritual quest. And I had read the book, Eat, Love, Pray, I went and saw the movie, and I loved it, and I still do. I don't not like it now, but it was a story about a woman who goes on this quest to learn how to marvel, to have somebody teach her how to marvel, how to give her something that she didn't have. And when I read that book, I was so motivated to try to figure out how I could do that. Where do I need to go? Who do I need to meet? How am I going to make all this stuff happen outside of me? And was convinced that I don't have it. I have to get what you know. And, meeting you at Through the Veil, I was like, oh, he has got a lot of knowledge that I need to get. I don't have it. I want to get it. And so I remember asking you on the speakers panel, what I'm on this quest. How do I do this? I saw Eat, Pray, Love. I want that. And you just said, you're looking in all the wrong places. Look within. And it was one of those, like, wait, you don't know me. I don't know that stuff. I can't look within. And I thought about that afterwards, and it has been, I can't even describe the way that freed me of even how much focus that I wasn't even aware that I had on trying to obtain something outside of me. I must have been thinking about it all the time, because when it finally dawned on me, don't look out, look in, it was just, it was such a relief. And a lot of people are doing that, and even listening to you, I'm sure that people are thinking, how do I get to know what you know? What do you tell them?
No, it's not really about knowing something. It's more about growing in your belief and acceptance of yourself. So I always say to people, like, if you want to believe in someone, believe in yourself. Don't believe in me. Don't believe in anyone else. The only person that you need to love, worship, and adore is you. And the more you really get to know you and embrace you and live in the fullness of who you are, and that's really what know thyself meant, okay? Know thyself at its essence was know you, okay? Like know how you operate, know what drives you, know what your motivation is, know what inspires you, know what makes you angry, and that happens through becoming aware of yourself. That's the first thing. Know thyself is a revolutionary teaching, okay? Know thyself means really get to know you. You're the one person that you're always trying to get to know somebody else. How well do you really know you, And I even go as far as say, you should take yourself out on a date, and ask yourself the questions that you'd ask someone that you really have the hots for. Because you're looking for all this attention and love from somebody outside of you, when really the only person you can get it is from within you. Okay? So, know yourself. Know you. Be aware of you. And be honest about it. That's authenticity. It's just being honest about it. I am who I am. It's good enough for me. It's good enough for the divine. That's how we roll. That's it. Then, love yourself. So the first step is know yourself. Then the second step is love yourself. And loving yourself is lovingly accepting and embracing you the way you are. Not some better version of you. Not some improved version of you. Not a more spiritual version of you. The version of you that the divine made. The divine was not having a bad day. Okay? Know thyself and love thyself. Then and only then, when you really know you, and when you can lovingly accept you, then it becomes possible for you to authentically love another person. Until then, it's not possible. It's not possible. Okay? So those two things right there are really profound and very simple ways of coming into that. And so the first thing is, okay, you get angry. Great. But what do you do with yourself when you get angry? Don't judge yourself. It's okay, you're just angry. The world isn't ending, you're just angry. Okay? Okay, you judge somebody. Great. Did you enjoy judging somebody, or did you beat yourself up afterwards for judging somebody? If you're going to judge someone, you might as well have a good time doing it. Otherwise, don't do it. So, when you're sad, be sad. When you're scared, be scared. Be however you're showing up. You don't need to be anything other than you. Okay? Real simple. Know you. Get to know you. And then accept you and embrace you. And then you no longer have a problem with you. Then you no longer have a problem with you. Then naturally you start to love the world. The other blessing is that for me, this began to express itself vibrationally. So for whatever reason, this energy, this gift of unconditional love just began to flow through me. It was just the excuse through which it was happening. And people were just having all kinds of amazing experiences, and I just thought I was weird, you know, like, what on earth is going on? Like, this has nothing to do with me, you know. And I very clearly realized that I was just an instrument to something that was unfolding through me. And ultimately, on a vibrational level, when we deal with the sadness and the anger and the fear and the shame and the guilt and the regret and all of that stuff, and we start to dissolve it, it's a solution. It's a solution. It's implementing a solution at the deepest level of being. Okay? At the deepest level of being. Because when you shift on the vibrational level, you then shift on every other level of being. You shift on a physical level, mental level, emotional level. That's a complete transformation. So this process of...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on, Greg.
Well, my question was, doesn't getting angry lower your vibration?
No. No. Getting angry doesn't lower your vibration. No. Getting angry is just getting angry.
But
Okay,
Panache,
so
all those people say they vibrate so much better, so much. How many people say, "Oh, we're not getting along because they vibrate lower than I do"?
But that's egoic judgment. You know, that's just a need to be better than people. You know, and you see, I always say to people, and if you're spiritual and I offend you, good. Ultimately. Spiritual people are some of the most judgmental people on the planet because they can judge themselves in multi-dimensional levels. Your average human being can only judge themselves in the 3D. A spiritual person can judge themselves in 12-dimensional realities and beyond. So
that's like saying, you know, I really put myself down today, and then from your higher self, yes, you do all the time. You know,
it's wild, you know. It's so funny what we do to ourselves. So, you know, people, and what happens is, Michelle, really, in all honesty, when people feel insecure in who they are, they need to falsely inflate themselves. And one of the easiest places to do that is in spirituality, because there's a whole conversation of I'm vibrating higher than you. You know, it's kind of funny. It's like, I've got all 16 bands of light turned on. How dare you stand in my presence? Kneel. 16 bands of light just walked in the room. You're currently vibrating at 3 frequencies. How dare you even look at me? My light is so bright. I'm shimmering so brightly, it's the light of 1,000,000 suns. I'm surprised that your eyeballs haven't melted. You know, it's just stupid, you know? It's like, come on. It's like, come on, man. You know, and these are conversations that people are having in their own heads.
Yes.
Everybody's famous in their own mind, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's what's going on, okay? But ultimately, all you're saying is, but the vibrational truth is something separate, apart, and different than what they're saying, okay? The vibrational truth is you're insecure and you don't feel good enough, or you're unworthy. So what you have to do is you have to falsely elevate yourself through spirituality. So you have a need for significance that's unresolved because you haven't dealt with what's authentically going on inside of you. You see. So the funny thing is, no matter where people show up, when we actually get to the truth, it's really not that glamorous.
Right.
It's not, you know, it's really not, and it's shocking for them, you know. It's like, oh my God, you know, because they've actually convinced themselves that this identity is real, and it isn't real. It isn't real. It's a story that they've told themselves, you see. And that's not to say that there aren't people who, you know, don't embody higher vibrational resonance, but they would never make that distinction, you know. They just, you wouldn't, you know, they would never do that. They don't need to do that. So anger's not a lower vibration. It's just vibration.
Okay.
You see, sadness is not a lower vibration. It's just vibration. Love is just vibration. Everything is just vibration. Period. You see. But there's so much judgment around it, and we need to eradicate the judgment around it, because it's the judgment that keeps it all in place, you know. It's a judgment that keeps it in place. That's why this love and acceptance thing is so revolutionary. It's like, oh, I can love and accept my anger. Cool. You know? I don't have to get down on myself, you know. I don't have to beat myself up, you know. I can love and accept my ego. Awesome, you know. I mean, people actually think they're not going to have an ego. You're always going to have an ego. Get used to it, you know. And when you realize the function of your ego, you no longer have a problem with it anymore, you know. I always say to people, I'm glad you have an ego, because if you didn't, you'd all be making really bad fashion choices.
Yeah.
You know? It'd be awful.
Don't say a thing, LaWanda.
So
okay.
So that's the deal. Every aspect of us is serving a purpose, okay? And you can't bake a cake without every ingredient. And you're perfect as you are. Embrace you as you are. In all seriousness. You're brilliant the way you are. Brilliant. Yeah.
Cool.
That's about as serious as it's going to get on this interview. Yes, Michelle, next question.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about 1111. Had the opportunity myself, Greg's lovely bride, LaWanda, and 4 other girls, and I got to head down, see the 1111 event with you. And it was the first, even though when you spoke through the veil, I got to hear you, but I hadn't really been at something kind of built around what you were doing, so I didn't really know what to expect. And Friday night we're in there, and I'm prefacing this because people who kind of know me and listen to me know that I'm a skeptic at heart. I want to believe, but I am a skeptic, and I like that part of me. So Friday night comes, we're having a great time. I'm kind of watching people, trying to figure out, you know, who's here, what are people thinking, and at some point the lights go dim. There's 400 people here, and we all get in rows, and so there's probably 10 dozen rows of people across this huge room. So there's maybe 60 people or so in each row, and I'm watching, and Panache is going up to each and every person. You know, there's kind of some soft music playing. People are standing with their palms up, basically signifying open and ready to receive. And Panache will come up to you, one person at a time, and place his hands on your head or on your chest or something, and people would end up kind of going down. And there'd be a catcher behind them that would help them lower them peacefully to down the ground, and they'd just kind of stay there in the moment. So I noticed that everybody has got their eyes closed, palms open, but me, because I'm watching. I got to see what's up. Is this really, you know, because I know that if somebody wants something bad enough, it will happen just because they want it to. So I'm eyeballing people and thinking, oh, well, I knew she's going to go down right away, and, you know, thinking all this stuff.
There you go with that judgment.
I know, but it was fun. I had a good time. So he gets through the row, and I'm at the end of the second row, and I've got mild scoliosis in my back, so I'm sitting in a chair, which, by the way, gave me a great vantage point to really watch everybody else. So getting closer to me, and I noticed in watching people that some people took a little bit longer before they would go down, and some, very few, but there was a couple that didn't seem to kind of go down on their own. They just kind of just ended up sitting. So I'm thinking, that's for sure going to be me. I'm going to just have to say, hey, that was cool, and just sit down. Or I'm going to take a really long time because I'm so skeptical. I have this big, impenetrable wall around me, and he's just not going to be able to get through, but I'll be polite and sit when I should sit. So I'm there, and my eyes closed. I'm kind of mentally counting the seconds about how long he should be there, and puts his hand to my head. And in the moment that it took me to think in my head, are you feeling anything? It was boom. And I can't put it exactly into words because I didn't feel like any kind of thing come in through his fingers into my head. It was just suddenly my head felt like it was about 6-8 inches bigger than it actually is, minus the hair. And I just went and had to sit right down. And then the second I sat, I realized that now it was from my head to my hips. Even though I didn't feel it travel, it was just all of a sudden there. And I got a little nervous because I I wasn't supposed to feel anything because I'm so cool like that. And so I popped open my eyes and looking around, and I knew I just have to focus on somebody because I got a little scared. And, you know, shortly after that, I wished I had stayed with it and not kind of panicked. What in the world happened? What was that?
Was that like awakening or helping her to awaken her third eye?
It's kind of a funny story, really. I was obviously Indian and born in London, and my parents were always very spiritual, and we had an amazing respect for spiritual beings, Jesus and Krishna. But I mean, anybody, it didn't matter really. Just anyone who embodied consciousness, we just loved and adored them. And so I always had a really profound love for Jesus as a child, even though I wasn't a Christian. And 2002, 2003, I began having experiences with what I now call Christ consciousness. And Christ consciousness is not what most people think it is. So, like, it doesn't belong to any religion. That's the first thing, okay? The reason why it's called Christ consciousness is because Jesus was the most famous embodiment of Christ consciousness. That's why it's called Christ consciousness. Also, there's a distinction in it's called Jesus the Christ. Okay? So the consciousness that he embodied was the consciousness of the divine, of oneness, of unity consciousness. Okay? So he embodied that greater consciousness, okay, that presence. And I was always fascinated by beings like that, like Buddha, you know, anybody, it didn't matter. So for me, I began having experiences, and these experiences of this Christ consciousness, this consciousness that Jesus had embodied, these amazing beings had embodied. And,
wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
We're good? We're back? Okay, we had lost feed for a second, but we are back.
Okay.
Oh, cool. So I began having all these experiences of these energies, and Christ consciousness as I saw it, and the divine as I saw it, was just this brilliantly golden, infinite field of energy with no beginning and no end, and no name, no form. I mean, ultimately I realized that we as a planet are arguing about nothing. You know, we're all trying to be right about our version of what God and the divine is, but ultimately God and the divine isn't any of what we're talking about. It's infinity. It's infinity. And that human beings, in their ability to try and interpret that energy, have made up whatever, you know, drawn the distinctions. We're going to get to a point in our conscious evolution where everyone of every religion is going to realize that we're having the same conversation in different languages. That's all. Right. We're going to get to a point where everyone's going to realize we've been talking about the same thing, okay? So I was having experiences of this energy and this consciousness, and about 2003, and my whole life I've been told I was to do something, I was in abject denial of it. You know, it's like, why me? I was just a kid, you know, leave me alone. Go pick someone older with a beard, you know, lives in an ashram, not me. And, you know, I got to a point where all of a sudden I couldn't deny it anymore, and I began to meet people, and little by little, this acceptance began to arise within me. And I had an experience where I felt this energy, this presence, just fully unfold in my body. It was almost like God, this infinite expression of energy, was trying to cram itself into me, and I was becoming it, and it was becoming me. There was no separation anymore. And with that experience, funnily enough, I started speaking in tongues. And that to me was weird, because being born in London, when I used to watch, you know, the preachers on TV speaking in tongues, I just thought they did it so people would donate more money to the ministry, you know, like, what a bunch of bullshit, you know. Oops, sorry, I just swore.
I know, you're
what
good.
A bunch of nonsense, you know. You know, like, I can't believe that people are buying into this, you know. And then I started speaking in tongues, and I'm having a full-blown conversation with people in a language that I don't understand, and they're communicating back with me, and my soul is engaged in this interaction with their soul. And on the level of our souls, it's all making perfect sense. On the level of my mind, I'm like, you've just jumped off the deep end. Like, what on earth is going on, right? So with this expression, all of a sudden, I'm standing there, and I was actually at a friend's meditation, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, people start falling over. And I'm like, now you really jumped off the deep end. not only are you now speaking in tongues, but you're embodying presence, and this is going to be really hard to explain in your daily life. You're walking down the street and people are just falling over. This is not good. Like, what's going to happen when you're on a plane or on a bus, right?
No shit.
So here I am, and all this stuff is spontaneously happening, and none of it has anything to do with me. None of it. And so this energy is what's expressed in sessions. And again, it doesn't belong to any religion. It's not a part of any ideology or belief system. It's actually the foundation of them all. And we're going to realize that. That in fact this vibrational resonance is the foundation of every religion and every ideology and every path, because it's that vibrational essence that everybody's wanting to experience. And so in sessions, when I put my hand on somebody and they fall over, there's a point where the mind just switches off. It just can't be with it. It's just too overwhelming. And so the mind switches off and the person just goes out, you know. And I'm not doing anything. It's just happening. And that's the part that's hard for people to understand, is my soul is in direct communion with your soul. There's no 3D, earthly, human communication going on. There's nothing going on. You know? People have all kinds of theories about what it is. You know, if someone knows what it is, please let me know, because I still don't know. You know? I'm just a vehicle through which it's happening. You see? And so this consciousness, it's not really an activation. What happens is I start vibrating like a tuning fork. And whoever's in front of me starts to vibrate at the same rate. And once they get to a certain point in their vibration, they can't maintain it anymore and they just fall over. You know, they just get overwhelmed. It's like having a computer, and like our computers today, if you downloaded computer from 2050, if you downloaded software from 2050 into a computer today, it would melt the motherboard. It's the same way. The energy is so overwhelming and so strong and so palpable and tangible, it just overwhelms people. And one of the natural reactions, Michelle, I'm glad you brought this up, is this little fear, because your mind can't comprehend it. It doesn't make any sense. One minute I'm standing there, this guy just touched me. And sometimes they don't even touch people and they fall over. So the rational mind cannot comprehend what's happening. It can't understand it, you see. You know, and people have their theories, you know, but ultimately there's no way to explain it. Some things are just unexplainable. You know, we just can't explain it. We can't explain it in language. You know, that's all it is, really. And it's just love.
I love the tuning fork thing. That makes it really clear, and I can see that. That makes sense. But it was scary for just a second of not being in control. But then immediately after, once I was not frightened anymore, I was like, "Wait, Panache, come back! Can you come back over here? This time I'm ready, I swear. Ready, go."
It's really an amazing experience, because people, that's the first time that people really experience peace, or people experience union. You know, it's the first time in their lives. And I've read all these books, gone to all these workshops, seminars, but they've never experienced it themselves. And for most people, that's the first time they experience themselves, their soul, their light, who they are. You know? And sometimes people experience their emotions, you know, their anger or their sadness or their fear. Sometimes their mind just races. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, what's happening is the remembrance of who you are as a soul is what shines forth in that moment. You know, it's a beautiful thing. You know, tens of thousands of people over the world are living in the fullness of who they are as a result of this exchange. You know, it's amazing.
Well, and I should make that clear too. The feelings of fear that I had were my mind reacting, but what I physically and I guess spiritually or whatever felt was relief. I think I don't know if that's a good word, but it was like I had exhaled everything that had ever bothered me. It was just an exhale, and then, you know, immediately I went to, I'm not in control. So that's when the fear came up. But it was an incredible experience that I didn't even want to share afterwards. You want to keep it inside. Would you also
say it felt like bliss? Did you hear me?
You know, that's a funny thing about words, is we imagine what a certain word must mean. So to me, bliss makes me think of, you know, a happy dance, and, you know, it wasn't this overwhelming excitement for me. It was just like I said, it was just exhale. It was just peace. I'm okay. Everybody's okay. I'm okay where I'm at. Everything's good. And that's it. No judgment.
And that's the biggest thing, is literally somebody can come in hating themselves, believing everything they've been told, believing everything that they've been led to believe, buying into every thought as being real, every emotion as being a part of them, and being so identified with their experience. And then they come to a session, and all of a sudden they realize that there's something far greater than they could ever imagine, and their life is never the same. Their life is never the same, because their whole level of identification shifts from personality, self-image, to the greater I am presence, which is his pure beingness, you see? And in that moment, when you shift into that greater I am presence, the pure beingness of you, which is infinite, in that space, that which you've tried to hold on to and that which you've tried to identify with as a part of you just is inconsequential. It's like when you're in a plane and you're flying up in the sky, the traffic doesn't bother you. You're looking down at the traffic, it's orderly. All these little cars like ants going down the street, all these houses are all, it looks like a Monopoly board. Everything's harmonious. It's only when you're in the traffic that it's bothering you. You see?
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. And Greg, that's a funny thing that you said, because ultimately what this does is it gives you access to your higher self. And in giving you access to your higher self, what happens is then you start living from that space and that perspective. You just present moment awareness, you're clear. And that's not to say that you're not going to feel angry ever again. You are, it's just not going to bother you anymore. It just becomes like a cloud, it's okay. It's alright, this too shall pass. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's unfolding is amazing. It's amazing.
You mentioned that. Go ahead, Greg.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Well,
Okay.
Okay, go.
When LaWanda when she came back, she had showed me an exercise where she learned, I guess, what it was to pass energy to another person. Is that what you would call it? I don't know if she's quite listening to me enough. The bars? Is that what you call it? Or she basically stood behind me and my big bald head, and she was passing her energy to me. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, let's do this. It'll be fun. And I sat there, and I crossed my legs. We were sitting on the bed. She was sitting behind me. And she put her hands, on the back of my head in a certain way. And after a minute or so, it just felt like a light was going on inside my head. And there was a small tinge of tingling, not on the backside, but I guess kind of a little bit in the center inside my head. I gotta ask, what was going on? I never really quite felt energy flow to me like that before from another person.
So at 11-11-11, I had we have an amazingly gifted community that shares lots of different techniques and modalities, and bars is one of them. And the bars is an amazing technology to unlock your greater potential. It's basically based in the conversation that everything is space, and that our essential nature is spaciousness. Okay, so for example, I would describe that as beingness. They would describe it as spaciousness, and it's 32 different positions that you can put your hands in on someone's head to free up that space. And what happens is the content that's there begins to flow, begins to dissipate and dissolve, and more space is created in your experience. So you access more of your being, which is the lightness. Okay? And so that's what the bars is. I have a dear friend of mine, Rika Zimmerman. She travels all over the world sharing the bars, and she's incredible. And this is the work that she facilitates, and this was her particular crew that was in the section that LaWanda went to and that she brought home, to share with them. I'm so happy. So it's ultimately an internal alchemy, as I would describe it. And the bars, they would have their own, access consciousness would have their own way of describing it, but as I would describe it as an alchemy, which is one form of energy that was in your body was transformed into another form of energy. And why? Because there's always the same amount of energy in the universe. So, for example, sadness that gets stuck in the body transforms into heat, or you cry, or you have that emotional release or that emotional transformation. And that's what you experienced, was a freeing up of that space. Freeing up of that energy, yeah. And bars is incredible, and there's lots of other things that were shared there too, And every single person that shared at the Love Affair, which is the Saturday night when I invite people to share with each other, is incredible. I mean, every one of them is up to amazing things in the world. That's the one night where I have everybody share with each other, because it's just such an amazing community, And so that's what LaWanda received, and then she brought it home and shared it with you. How cool is that? That's awesome. Yeah. So the energy thing is real, and it's basically people holding space for you so that you can experience yourself. I'm only ever being myself, and that's the greatest blessing really for me. I don't ever have to be anything other than me, and just in being myself, everything's happening, and that's the incredible path really for me. This time around. So, Reiki, bars, so many different tools and technologies that we have available to help you access that vibrational body, Mm-hmm. But ultimately, we're vibration and frequency first and foremost, and everything else is a byproduct of vibration and frequency. And when you get that, life becomes very interesting. Becomes very interesting. Yeah. That's cool, Greg. You had your bars run. That's awesome.
He was defragged.
That's awesome.
That's what it sounded like to me, Greg. Yeah, it was like defragging your hard drive. That's what I got.
That's exactly. Yeah, there's one actual placement of their hands where it's literally that. It is literally like defragging the hard drive. So it's probably what LaWanda unleashed on you. She went for the atomic bars position, and she unleashed some of that on you, Greg. So that's probably what it is. Yeah,
Greg, I'm just amazing. Surprised with all the free space you have in your head that there was more.
Michelle.
Panache, are you okay that we're going over?
I'm fine.
Okay, good. We were going past. I'm like, I should probably ask you.
Yeah, give him a hug, LaWanda. Give him a hug.
Oh, she's loving that I said that. She texted me to say that to him.
Yeah. Aww.
How
you
sweet.
Guys so
cute. You said something that I want to touch on a little bit. You said that you have always been okay with being you. And I know for myself and a lot of people, we think that we are our experiences. Certainly there was a long time when if somebody would ask me who I was, I would say I am an adult survivor of sexual abuse. I survived physical violence. I was abandoned by my parent. And just attachment to all of these experiences. And finally got to the point where I realized that that's not who I was. Those are things that I experienced, but it wasn't who I was. How do people get to that point? And I'm trying to make this question short. Like, you have a blog that you just wrote about getting to know somebody really important and having that person is ourself. And you said one of the hardest questions you can ask somebody is, what brings you joy? And that people stumble and stutter and I don't really know. So if people release that I am, my experiences, all of these things, oftentimes it feels like they're left now with nothing. Does that make sense?
But that nothing is the goal. Yeah, but that nothing is the goal. Okay, and that's what people don't realize. That nothing is pure potential. So for example, right now, in the absence of your story, in the absence of your identity, in the absence of everything that you've been told you are, who would you be? Just take a breath. It's happening right now. It's amazing. Just take a breath. In the absence of your identity, in the absence of your personality, in the absence of everything that you've been told, and everything that you've been led, that you've been made to believe, in the absence of all of those things, who would you be?
Just
me.
It
would be you.
There you go. And who is the you? When you take your identity away and you take that personality away and the story and all that stuff and you take all of that away, okay, and it's no longer there, You would be you, but what is the you that you are? What is that you?
I'm more stumped that I don't have an answer. I've got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like me 5 minutes ago.
Because there's no language. There's no language, right? And there's no language because you're no longer operating within the realms of the mind.
Okay, that makes
sense. You see, nobody really knows who they are. Your name, even your name was given to you by somebody. How do you know that's actually your name? Because somebody told you. And that's the funny thing, right? Like, and that applies to every single aspect of our reality. Why is something the way it is? Because somebody said so. But does that make it real? It doesn't make it real.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, who you are is space, is nothing, is infinite potential. And when you go beyond the stories and you go beyond the identity that you've been given and the belief system that you've been given and the conditioning that you've been given, when you go beyond all of that, you find peace. There's just peace. There's just space. There's just a void. There's just a nothingness. You see? And that nothingness is where infinite possibility resides. Because the only place, like for example, if I say to you, like who's the biggest person that gets in your way, you would say you, right?
Right.
But you, what part of you? What part of you? That would be your ego, that would be your personality, your story, your likes, your dislikes, your judgments, right? But where does that reside? That all resides on the level of the mind.
Right.
Yeah.
But who's to say that that is actually real? How about pure space and potential is your real identity? Not what you've said, not what you've gone through, not what you've experienced, but pure space, vibration and potential is your natural identity.
So is that like saying that's your higher self? That's like your superego?
Well, it's not superego, it's one singular self just being experienced in different ways. Okay? It's one singular self, you see. But at that point you become limitless. Because it doesn't matter what happened in the past anymore. It doesn't matter who did what and who said what and what you were conditioned to believe and what your belief system is. You just abide and reside in the pure potential of your being. It's incredible what happens, you know. You're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, you're not your judgments, you're not your body. You're not your story. You're not your reasons, you're not your excuse, you're not your justifications. You're not your race, you're not your gender, you're not your nationality. So then who are you?
Well, that kind of points the question, how can we do that while still be the person that we are sitting here in this chair?
Yeah. So what happens is, and people often speak of this, is you move into a state of experience where you're watching what's happening, where you're witnessing. So you, that cannot be defined, that I am presence, that is all-encompassing, begins to witness and experience life. So you become clear in the fact that what Greg's going through is just what Greg's going through. And it's a part of Greg's experience. But there's something beyond the identity of who Greg is that's witnessing it all through Greg's eyes. Like he's been just exploding. It's like, say that again? Okay,
It's gonna blow!
So Greg, right? So Greg's just doing what Greg's doing, right? Greg's experiencing life. But there's something far greater than your identity that's witnessing Greg through Greg's eyes. Something far greater. There's that infinite beingness that is witnessing life and experiencing life through your form. through your body.
Okay.
You see? So there's a consciousness, there's a presence, there's experiencing life through your body and through your identity. But it isn't your identity, it isn't your thoughts, it isn't that. It's beyond all of that. You see? And that's it's a little hard for people to understand. But the more you peel back the layers, the more you'll find nothing. Like, for example, in quantum physics, the more they try and find an answer, the more they find nothing. What does that mean? That means that there is no truth, there's no conclusion, there's no final answer. It's infinite. And any final answer or any conclusion that you draw on it becomes a limitation. Why? Because it's based in language.
See, it's hard for I guess a person like me, because I'm always the kind of person who's like, okay, Greg, you have to do this. Really? Why? Because we have to do it this way. Okay. Why? Because that's the way that we have been doing it. Oh. Why? Because that's just the way that it's been. But why? Yeah, I always ask questions. I always want to get to the meat of the matter of the beginning, and in doing so, I may be trapping myself, or I may be painting myself into a corner. But that's just me. That's always been the way that I've always been.
But that's a great thing, because you never go on anyone else's interpretation of what's real. You're continually challenging what's real and what's acceptable. If, for example, not so long ago, people believed that the Earth was square, and in the event that you said it was round, you were mad.
Yeah.
Right.
But the very second someone sailed off the edge of the world and proved that it was round, all of a sudden when you said it was square, you were mad. Human beings are like sheep. And eventually you have to question why you're walking in a certain direction. Why do we hate each other? I don't know why we hate each other, but we're just going to keep hating each other. Why do people hate each other based on different belief systems? I have no idea why. They've been doing it for thousands of years. It's just the way it is. Why does 1% of the population have everything? I don't know why 1% of the population has everything. It's just the way it is, right? So there's a lot of stuff that slips through the cracks on this planet just because it is the way it is. It takes a certain level of self-awareness and self-inquiry to start to unravel it all for yourself, okay? And that's the difference between a belief and a knowing. A belief is something that somebody told you that you accepted. But until you actually experienced it, how do you know it's real? You don't. Someone comes home and says, Iowa is beautiful in November, right? Iowa. It's gorgeous in November. You got to go there. It's a destination. Iowa. Get your ticket now. It's the latest holiday hotspot, right? And you book your ticket and you get to Iowa and you're like, this is a piece of crap. What the hell are you talking about? This is not a destination, right? But where you could just go on the belief system, you go, yeah, Iowa. Iowa's the destination. And then enough people start believing it, all of a sudden it ends up in Us magazine or People magazine. Celebrities start going there. And then everyone starts vacationing in Iowa. Even though every sense in their rational mind says November in Iowa is insanity. When enough people buy into the insanity, it becomes a reality. You see? When enough people buy into the insanity, it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Collective consensus informs reality. You see? And so that's why challenge everything. Don't accept anything. Just follow what's in your heart and abide by what's true for you. That's it. And take what serves you, take what works for you, and leave the rest. That's it. Because ultimately this is about you and your own discovery of yourself. That's all, That's why I was blessed that I never had a teacher. I never had a physical teacher. I never had that conditioning. I never had any of that stuff. No, I always knew that this was between me and the divine, And Michelle, one thing that I will say is that my level of acceptance has been a journey. I was born completely accepting of myself in a world that didn't accept itself. So then I thought I was abnormal. You see? So here I am, loving and embracing who I am, but I'm living in a world that didn't love and embrace itself, so I thought I was weird. Okay? I didn't realize it was kind of the other way around, that, you know, people looking for approval outside of them wasn't quite where it was at. Okay? It's only now that I can rationalize that. So for me, embodying this awareness in this being has been very confusing, you know, for a long time, because it's the exact opposite of what most people are living and what most people call acceptable.
Right.
It's the opposite. You know, and so that's where this has grown in me, but it's grown over and over the years and through my experiences and through trust in myself and what's unfolding, you know. And that's how it happens. That's how it goes from a belief, we're divine. Okay, great, well, that's a belief. That's a great belief. I experienced it. That's why I can say it. That's why I can look at people in their eyes and tell them that the divine loves them. And that every rule and every regulation and everything that they think they need to be is man-made. It's not of the divine. There are no rules or regulations, no way you have to live your life. You're not a mistake. You're loved and accepted just the way you are. Just the way you are. That's it. That's it.
And some of the people in the chat room are talking about this, and, you know, we listen to you and we're like, oh, Panache, he's so great. He has it all wrapped up, and you get to live your life, you know, really believing this and helping people, and that rocks. But what about me and my life with my job, and I have to go and deal with all this kind of stuff, and I would like to go, like they did in Eat, Pray, Love, to some tropical place and just be by myself and you know, get my crap together and find myself. How do you do this thing that you seem to be doing, this enveloping of knowing who you are, when you also have to live in this world that goes against everything? How do you walk that line?
I think ultimately it's just staying true to you. Like, you know, I still get angry, but I just don't have a problem being angry anymore. You know,
see,
I don't
I
judge
can't
myself
imagine
really.
you getting angry. I can't imagine you getting upset at anything.
That would be funny.
Yo, sure. Not enough jalapenos on my nachos? Woo! I'm gonna get mad. It's gonna get heated.
Oh my God.
Like today, I went to have a cheeseburger. They didn't put hot sauce on my cheeseburger. I'm like, excuse me, where's the hot sauce? You know. So you know, I have my moments. You know? Yeah, you know, but I'm human. You know. But that's not gonna go away. You know. That's not gonna go away. I still get angry. I still get sad. I still experience all of that. I'm human.
Well, some people think, though, that they're going to have to go away somewhere. They're going to have to escape everything to get the truth. I think it's like a feeling of, I don't have enough time to get there in my regular life.
Yeah, you see, your life is your teacher. And that again is something that people really need to understand, is your life and everyone in your life is conspiring to have you understand how brilliant you are. And when you start to get it, you start to pay attention, okay? So that means that everyone from the person who pisses you off to the person that lovingly embraces you and embraces you and tells you you're doing a good job is serving you to help you remember the fullness of who you are. See, everyone's my teacher. I learn something from everybody. And in the event that someone says something that upsets me, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because they've given me an opportunity to lovingly embrace more of myself. You see, we're only ever looking in the mirror, and what we're seeing that we like is who we are, and what we're seeing that we don't like is who we are. And the more you can look in the mirror and embrace it all, the freer you are. You see, and after time, people can stop playing those roles for you. You know, like that one person that annoys you and keeps annoying you and keeps annoying you. Like, you should go, if you want to be spiritual, go away with them for a week and stay in the same hotel room. And eat meals with them, and do things with them, and spend time with them, and let them push every button that you have to the point where you are just absolutely insane. And as they push these buttons, breathe, relax, put it into neutral, and you're going to start realizing every single place in yourself where you're unresolved. And yes, Lawanda and Greg pointing at each other. There was a spiritual teacher that once said, if you want to develop spiritually, get married.
Oh,
Get married. Have a relationship. Because then you are living with a mirror 24/7, 365. There is no escape. Every day it's my mirror and me. What are we doing? My mirror and me. That's what we're doing. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm loving it. You know, and that's what's going on. So, sometimes you look in the mirror.
My mirror
and me.
Wherever I go, she goes.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
So life is your teacher. You don't, so you don't have to go away and live in a monastery. Actually, that's avoiding life.
Mm.
It's easy to be peaceful in a monastery. Everyone's faking serenity. Be peaceful in the middle of rush hour traffic in Georgia. Be peaceful when you're with your family that drives you crazy. Be peaceful in life, basically. That's where it's at. It's not about being peaceful in a monastery where everyone's faking serenity. It's easy to be peaceful in a monastery, Most of the time people are in silence. People can't even say anything to remotely upset you. And then you're with spiritual people, so they'll never upset you because they don't want to be born in a waterless region for 7 lifetimes. So your life is your teacher. Your life is your teacher. Your life is your blessing. And everyone in your life is playing the part that you've asked them to play. I'll share a story with you. People think that, I'm not a handful or I don't get angry. This will put it into perspective. During my teens, when I was growing up, I did what most teenagers do, and I was trying to find myself outside of myself. And that didn't work. And I tried to fit in, I tried to belong, and the more I tried to fit in, the more I tried to belong, the more I didn't. It just was that way. And I was very sad, very upset, and I just kind of had it all. I'm like, I'm done with this planet, what am I doing here? And so I decided for 3 years of my life to go out and party like a rock star. From 18 to 21, I had a great time. And I'd go out and I'd have fun and I'd come home. And, I wasn't exactly the nicest to my dad during that particular phase of my life. And my dad was very loving and very accepting and very embracing. And he just watched it all. Very rarely did he actually need to say something. He just watched it all. And I called him when I was about 22, and it was Father's Day, and I said, Dad, I'm really sorry for the hard time that I gave you when, in between 18 and 21, and I just really want you to know that I love you and you mean the world to me. And without missing a beat, he said, Panache, I love you too, and I was only playing the role that you asked me to play for you. I'm welling up just talking about it, Not, yeah, you were a pain in the ass, not judgment, not, criticism, not, oh my God, I knew better than you, none of that stuff. Just, I was only playing the role that you asked me to play. It's my dad. Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. And so, it's not that I haven't, had my moments. I have. But I'm human, and to think that I don't have them is insane, I'm human, I experience everything that we experience. I experience everything that we're going through. Just for the most part, I don't have a problem with it anymore. And when I do, I see it as an opportunity to lovingly embrace more of myself. That's it. That's it.
Huh,
so that's one
cool.
example, of just me being human and and living life, But I mean, this human thing is messy, don't get me wrong, and we all go through what we go through, okay? But it's all important. It's all a part of our greater unfolding, It is. And that's why it's important that you not give yourself a hard time. That's why it's important that you just lovingly accept you for who you are and embrace yourself for who you are, and do the best that you can. There are days where you'll forget. There are days where you'll get angry and make it about somebody else. There are days when you'll be so confronted that, you can't help but just want to run away. It's okay. It's human. We all have those days. I always say to people, the greatest masters and teachers had bad days, they just didn't write about them. So, like when, so like when Jesus was having an off day, the disciples would put the kettle on and say, all right, JC, when you're done having your little whatever you're going through there, fella, let us know. We'll come back and we'll start taking notes again. They didn't write about that. So that's what it is. Even the greatest beings had bad days. They just didn't write about them. There is no gospel of Jesus's blooper reel or off days. It's all the it's all the highlight reel. And that's why, because they take a tea break. So, we're human, and that's the greatest blessing. The point is, we're human, and that's the greatest blessing. That's the greatest blessing. If you can just be fully content being human, that's it. You've got it. You've got it. So, I hope that helps. And thank you for letting me share that, because I remembered that. I get present to the love, that I have for my dad. Thank you.
That's huge. And let me say that I got to hug your dad in Orlando, and it surprised me. I thought I went in for the handshake, and then it looked like he was going in for the hug, so there's that moment where you kind of do that dance, and so I'm like, I think he wants a hug. So I stepped in for the hug, and imagined it would be, a pat on the back, which tells you how much I think about things, that I already knew what kind of hug it should be. But anyway, stepped in, and it was a hug. I didn't know what to say, loss of words, and I walked away, and that's what I was thinking about, was like, wow, that was a hug. That was good. He was there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't wait to see him, and he's going to be here with you this weekend, right?
He is, yeah. And he'll be causing mischief in a corner somewhere, that's what my dad does. Like, he comes to the programs, and he's so cute. Whenever there's talking going on, whenever I'm talking about something, guaranteed it'll be my dad having a conversation with somebody. So look out for the mischievous Indian. Look out for the mischievous Indian dude sitting somewhere in the room, because that'll be my dad.
I'll have to stay away from him then, because I'm a mischief starter too, so we'd be trouble together.
I love him.
Well, let's talk a little bit.
He's amazing. Yeah.
He is, and I'm going in for another hug. And Greg and LaWanda will be there this weekend too, so Greg will get to meet him. Let's talk a little bit about this weekend. It's only a couple more days away. You're going to be here on Friday afternoon, and this is all happening, by the way, at the Hyatt Regency on Peachtree Street in Atlanta, and you can find out more information by either going to throughtheveil.org or panachedesai.com, and LaWanda will put all that stuff in the chat box for you there. But Friday afternoon from 1 to 4, we're having a program called Illumination, and tell us a little bit about what that is.
Illumination is taking every existing modality or technique or expression and just elevating it into its highest potential. So, for example, consciousness is infinite. So based on when you learn something, it's like you have that version of it. But it's like with software is continually being updated, right? There's always an update for Microsoft, there's always an update for an Apple, there's always an update for something. And in that same way, consciousness is infinite and always being upgraded. And so illumination is not a technique or a modality, it's an upgrading of that which already exists into its highest expression. And it's not just for healers, okay? If you interact, with human beings on a daily basis, you're a doctor and nurse, massage therapist, anyone who has any kind of a customer services role where your energy is interacting with somebody else's, illumination's great for you. It was born because I would get phone calls from people who had created techniques and modalities from all over the world. They were healers who were well-known, well-respected, and they called me at the end of the day absolutely exhausted. And they couldn't believe, they took on so much karma, so much energy from that person, the whole thing, and they were just saying, can you help me, And of course, me being who I am, I would always say, no, I'm not going to help you. Because I understood that ultimately it wasn't what they were doing. They needed to shift their perception of how it was being done. Okay? Of how it was being done. And that's some of what I was speaking to with Greg, right? So for example, vibration is just vibration. Energy is just energy. Leave it alone. It's not negative energy. It's not positive energy. It's just energy. Let it be. When you deal with energy without a judgment of it, There's no ownership of it. It doesn't bother you. Okay? And that goes for everything in life. The more you come from a space of neutrality around what it is that you're expressing, the more powerful it is. So people come and see me from all over the world who are doing techniques and modalities, and their expression of that technique or modality was getting stronger. Why? Because their relationship with themselves had shifted. Their relationship with energy had shifted. Their relationship with vibration had shifted. So it's not about what's being shared, what the external form is, but it's about enhancing you and your relationship with yourself. So whatever that looks like carries that resonance and carries that vibration. And so people literally get attuned to infinity. And based on their ability to embody it and resonate it, that's what happens. And this is designed to be something that people can then download. We're going to figure it out so once a month people can be on a webcast and just continue to receive. Why? Because then it stays current and relevant, you see, and it continues to unfold and it continues to work. And so illumination is for anyone who comes into contact on a daily basis with somebody else. Your light touches the light of another person. Your life touches the life of another person. Illumination is for you. Okay? Come to that. Then this weekend we're doing Lightness of Being. Is that in the same hotel?
Same place, same hotel. We'll have Friday night introduction 7 to 9, and then Saturday full day program 9 to 5 with lunch.
Great. So Lightness of Being, right now when you look at the world, it's full of meaning and significance and it's heavy. Okay, like when you think about what's unfolding in the world, it actually physically makes you feel heavy. Okay, but this heaviness is not your natural state of being. Your natural state of being is lightness. And lightness of being is restoring people to that lightheartedness, so that you embrace and engage in life with grace and ease, from a spaciousness. Okay, so the world's unfolding, and everything in the world is unfolding in the way that it needs to. It's how we're showing up in the midst of it unfolding that makes the difference. Okay, and so we have an opportunity to show up and to buy into it all and to try and resist it all and try and fix and change it all. Or we can understand that there's another option available. And this option is what every great master and teacher embodied: lightness of being. Lightness of being. Dealing with life from a childlike sense of wonder. Being childlike is not being immature. It's dealing with life from a space of open-heartedness, from that preconditioned state of mind, from that pre-belief system state of mind. It's that freedom, you know. Yeah, and so that's where Jesus said, you know, like become childlike, right? What is it? If you want to get into heaven or inherit the kingdom of heaven, you have to become childlike, something along those lines. I have to work on my biblical references. Just Google it. So anyway, so it's becoming childlike and playing and getting up every day and playing. And how cool would that be, to wake up every day and to play and to be light-hearted? And again, it's not being irresponsible. It's being open-hearted. It's being spacious, being free. So lightness of being is an opportunity to radically transform the experience of yourself and how you experience your life. So it's not heavy, it's not weighing you down, so that you can fly.
And what a great way to go into the new year,
can't wait.
too. There are still tickets available. You can stay with us right there at the hotel, make a weekend out of it, but you know, it's something not to be missed. If you have an opportunity to attend, this is where you need to be. Absolutely. So again, you can go throughtheveil.org, panachedesai.com. There's the direct links are now in the chat. Our JC of Team Desai has popped in and put that stuff up for us. I love my JC. Love JC. And it's not the same JC you were talking about.
The JC, man.
Yeah, different JC.
No, but she's a carpenter too. She's a Jan carpenter.
Ah, dun-dun-dun. Yeah. All right, yes, that one went over my head for a second. You know,
I have two Jans in my life. I have Jan, that's my wife, and I have Jan Carpenter, who lovingly takes care of my life. And so I have two Jans, you see, and so it gets a little confusing. So Jan Carpenter, who I love and adore with all my heart, big shout out to you, JC, became JC, Jan Carpenter.
Well, do
So,
you know
she's a
that I
carpenter,
have
so-
been friends with Jan Carpenter on Facebook and had been speaking to JC and had not put it together that they were one and the same person. And Jan Carpenter posted a link to the event, and I thought, well, how nice of her. I hope whoever that is can make it. And it click, I'm like, oh my God. I love JC.
See, that
love
also
her.
helps because it looks like that also helps because JC actually is like indispensable. She's like the core essence of who we are. So she's like two people really. So that's perfect that she's JC and she's Jan Carpenter. It's perfect. She's
a
awesome.
riot.
We love you, JC.
Yes, we
Couldn't
do
do
love
without
you.
you, babe.
No, and we'll
So
talk
can
later
we just
this
have
week.
people feel can we? Let's just have people experience the energy a little bit. Should we do
Okay,
that? We got
yes,
time?
yes. Let's do that,
Sure.
and then we'll just end
Yeah.
after that.
Okay, great. So just wherever you are, just take some breaths and just close your eyes and just open your palms. For whatever reason, when I began offering presence, which is this field of just vibration and resonance and frequency that is the divine realm, I would always sit and have people open their palms. And just become aware of your breath as it comes in and out of your body. And as you relax and become aware of your breath, you might begin to feel almost a heat or an electricity in the palms of your hands. Some people describe it as almost a ball of energy. Others describe it as an energy that starts in their palms and then starts moving through their bodies. And really what this is just the Divine's love for you. The Divine's reminder for you that you're not broken. You don't need healing, you don't need fixing, you're not a mistake. That right now you're loved and accepted exactly the way you are. And if you're one of those individuals that, it really hasn't been safe for you to feel, then now's the perfect time to begin your journey into feeling again. Just be with the breath and just receive. Just allow yourself to be loved. Just allow yourself to be accepted. And the more you can relax, the more you can receive. just going to ask that anywhere where you have any stress or resistance, or in your life where you're not fully allowing yourself to show up as all of you, that just dissolve with grace and ease. I'd also like to ask where anywhere where you're having any financial or health challenges, or any problems in your relationship with yourself or with another, that all of that vibrational content just dissolve with grace and ease. So that you can abide in the infinite truth of you. And so that you can experience the fullness of life. Because you're brilliant. So just take some breaths, and gently and slowly, in your own way, you can come on back. Thank you.
You so rock.
Thanks for being you. Thanks for being you. That's awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Say, how you doing, Greg?
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
That's a space, Greg, that most people who meditate for 20, 30 years never reach that space. You know? Because
really?
meditation's become, it's fascinating. I've had people that have been meditating every day for 30 years, and they've never experienced that level of peace. They've never experienced that level of energy or connection. It's amazing. So we go there very quickly, and we go there real fast, you know, because we're just it's an amazing time to be alive, and that's the blessing of this energy right now.
One question I have to ask, because you know me, I always ask questions. What's the significance of holding your hands, you know, with palms up?
You know, it's almost like an international symbol to the universe that you're open and receptive. I don't know why it is that way, but it's just, I always felt guided to have people do that. And for some reason, it just, when people experience the energy, the first place they experience it is in their palms. Sometimes people experience it in the crown of their head, like in this area, and sometimes people feel it in their hearts. But for some reason, the first place where people really feel the energy or the resonance is in their palms. And then it goes from their palms into the rest of their body. And so it's just a conscious way of saying, okay, I'm here, you know, I'm ready, you know, I'm ready.
Okay.
Ultimately, whether people do that or not, it really doesn't matter. It works anyway. But this is just a way of people having people be consciously aware of the fact that they're receiving. You see, it's like when you pick up the phone and you dial the number, you know you're on the phone. You're consciously aware of the fact that you're on the phone, right? So that's what it is. It's a way of consciously being aware of the connection that always exists. That's our birthright. That's who we are. That is who we are. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why. Is there a follow-up question, Greg?
Well, strangely enough,
I can see another one coming.
Because strangely enough, for a moment, it felt like there was I don't know, like a transfer of energy in a way. It fit my hand. I could feel a slight temperature change in my hands at the time, and it also felt like there was like a light weight, like maybe like a feathery touch. It was in my hand. I never quite experienced that before.
Yeah, I do webcasts with people all over the world, and basically energy is not limited by time, space, or distance. And every single person, no matter where they are in the world, feels the presence and feels the energy. You see, and it's that presence, it's that reminder that's being vibrated that's reminding them, you see. And people sometimes literally feel like they're being touched, and they have to open their eyes and have a look, make sure no one's in the room, you know. So it's really an amazing thing that happens. And, you know, again, vibration, resonance, and frequency is not limited by time and space. So that's the cool thing, it's like we feel it, you can feel it, and that's awesome because it feels so good, and ultimately what you're getting present to is yourself and how infinitely amazing you are, it's amazing. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal what's happening. Yeah. And I get to be with you all in person in the A-Town.
In the A-Town. I'm not sure how you do. I think it's like that.
Coming up for the A-Town.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I'm going to have to be with you all in the land of Usher and Evander Holyfield and the Lenox Mall.
Yeah, the Lenox Mall. Oh, God.
And Buckhead.
Oh.
No, I used to love going downtown.
That's a long time ago.
Winnie.
I don't mean to judge Panache.
Hey, I don't care. As long as I come and get to eat some good southern cooking, I'm happy.
That's right. That's right. We'll have to get you over maybe Saturday night and it's not good for you, but what is it, Greg? Wayne? It's the chicken and waffles.
Yeah. Gladys Knight.
Yeah.
I think you actually have a better place.
What?
You told me about
Mary Mac's Tea Room, where actually the Dalai Lama ate.
Okay.
And Richard Gere and a number of. Okay, we'll hook you up. We'll get you hooked up.
Yeah, I'm coming.
We're gonna have such a wonderful time.
Yeah. That's good. And if it's not good, we'll go to Gladys Knight's, don't worry.
Yeah. We will.
Those waffles are really good.
First time I came to Atlanta, right, I'm like, could you please recommend a restaurant to me? I want to go eat some real good local cuisine, right? And this guy said, Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles.
You're like,
I'm like,
huh?
Really?
Yeah.
Out of every restaurant that you could have said to me, the one place that you're telling me to go and eat dinner is Gladys Knight's. And I actually went there, and I'm like, now I know why.
It was.
Now I know why.
I've been there once. It was after Through the Veil last year.
Yeah.
Took Olivia there, and I did not get the chicken and waffle. I can't go there. Chicken, waffle, 2 different meals. That's like grits. You don't do grits either. Grits is another word for dirt, and I don't eat dirt either. So.
Oh, dear God.
And that's a knowing. That's a knowing, not a belief. All right. Well, let's.
You gotta watch that.
Eaten grits right yet?
Yeah, you can get some good cheesy grits. They go down real good.
See?
No. Well, thank you
Let's
again.
Let's clear the vibrational density around that, shall we? Go ahead.
Let's leave that one in place. I'm going to embrace that density. That's all mine. I'm claiming it. Thank you so much. No, love and accept my avoidance of it. The word, it's grit.
Nice.
You don't eat grit. That's what you brush off the bottom of your feet when you walk outside barefooted, is the grit. You don't eat that.
Oh, here.
Ugh, yuck. Okay.
No.
I know, I'm going to be cast out of Georgia. All right, well, it is almost 11 o'clock, so we, did double our typical time. So thank you for
we did.
Taking a big chunk of your evening out. It was so awesome, and we're going to see you on Friday. And if you are in the Atlanta area or even anywhere else around and you can make it to Atlanta, come here, spend the weekend with us. You will never regret it. You'll tell everybody you know about it, and it's just going to be amazing. Amazing.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome.
You.
I know, I'm so pumped. If you want to find Panache, again, it's panachedesai.com. That'll go back up in the chat room for you. Find him on Facebook. Find him on Twitter. He's active on both, posting every single day. He's got blogs on the website. He's there for you, and you can really get to know him just by going on Facebook. And he loves Facebook, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you're always posting stuff. I love it.
Yeah, hit me up on Facebook on my fan page.
Yes. Yeah. He said today that he wants Facebook to increase the numbers on a personal page because they max you out. So
Yeah, it's like 5,000. It's like, Mark Zuckerberg, who are you to tell me I can only have 5,000 friends?
I know.
Come on, man.
So at that you get mad. That's what sets you off.
Yeah, that's what pisses Panache off.
Because I've got like 500 to another 1,000 friend requests.
Right.
So at that point, it's like, come on, what's another 1,000? I'm
Right.
already at 5.
Right.
Right.
Only.
Yeah. All right, let's go, because I know we could keep on talking and talking all night, and we'll have to do this again. You are the keynote speaker at next year's Through the Veil, so have another opportunity to get to see you here in Atlanta, and so we'll have you back on again. But for tonight, thank you everybody again for listening. Thank you PTV and for hosting our fun show, and we will be back again next Tuesday night and talking about what happened over the weekend. So thank you. Love you, Panache.
Good night.
Thanks, Panache. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Good night, everybody.
Good night.